I would like to call this April 7, 2020 meeting of the Justice Committee to order. We have a quorum present. We have 6 of 7 members, and as noted, our 7th member will be coming in momentarily, I hope momentarily. Our first item is approval of the minutes of our special meeting of February 18, 2020, and the regular meeting of March 3rd. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Member Soldner. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Bloomfield. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. All opposed? The minutes are approved. We move on to departmental matters. We begin with Ms. Molly Evans, the Director of the Children's Advocacy Center.
If I may, Chairman Gordon,
Yes,
this is Ms. Rodriguez, and Ms. Evans is not joining us this evening. She had no action items, but I will quickly report that her monthly statistics are included within your packet. I will note that April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I would assume that if the membership is interested in any activities that still could be occurring, I know that normally we all convened in front of the Law and Justice Center, for example, to put out pinwheels, but we made a decision a few weeks ago to not hold that based on the social distancing recommendations of our public health leadership. So in all, I will say that you've seen, if you're driving around town, blue ribbons on things, and that's what it's about generally, is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And then lastly, I'll just add for the membership that activities at the CAC do continue. There is still a need for forensic interviews of children, and those do continue on. So I can try to answer any of your questions, and if I cannot, I will follow up in emails after the meeting.
thank you for that. Are there any questions for Ms. Rodriguez regarding Ms. Evans' report? Thank you very much. Appreciate the heads up. Next on the agenda is John Sandage, McLean County Sheriff. In our packet, his monthly statistical report is found on pages 8 through 11. Sheriff, welcome to the meeting.
Thanks, George. You had presented me a list of questions earlier in the week that you hope to get answered. Instead of going one by one on those questions, I prepared a statement. I'm going to read it, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. I was recently presented with a list of questions by Chairman Gordon in reference to concerns of how the Sheriff's Office is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic as it relates to our jail population. In the last few weeks, I've been contacted by members of social justice groups that are being encouraged by certain elected officials to demand that the Sheriff's Office release prisoners as part of their no cash bail initiative. In reference to this, let me use Member Chung's words from a recent letter to the editor in reference to this pandemic originating in China, and I quote, "To make a pointless political statement in a time of crisis not only insults me, but also threatens the safety of our friends and neighbors." What these social justice groups, who are supported by some of our very own board members, are doing is causing an unsafe and tense environment in our correctional facility, not only for staff, but for inmates. Group members are being asked to flood Sheriff's Office phone lines with their message. Also, inmates are being contacted by members on the outside of their efforts and what they should do as an inmate to help. When outside influences attempt to cause unrest in a corrections environment, you have gone too far. I have received repeated demands and even threats to free prisoners by those claiming to be social justice warriors who don't even know how the justice system works. The sheriff runs the jail, however, randomly releasing inmates would put me in contempt of every order issued which demands that each inmate be held. While some believe that I should ignore these orders that pertain to literally every inmate that is in jail for more than 48 hours, my staff and I do not violate judges' orders. McLean County has been fortunate for years to have the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council to deal with jail population issues. This group, which includes the Sheriff's Office, State's Attorney, Public Defender, County Administration, County Board members, members of the Defense Bar, members of the general public, and the judiciary, have worked on a daily basis to make sure that our jail is housing only those inmates that are truly a danger to the public when at all possible. In the last 30 days, we have reduced our jail population by approximately 1/3 through an incredible amount of cooperation by all involved in the CJCC. A good portion of that 1/3 reduction comes from cooperation with the judiciary to suspend the sentences of those under judges' orders to complete periodic imprisonment. On March 12th, I reduced traffic to the jail by suspending on-site video visitation at our facility and directed that all visitation be done remotely. We were the first correctional facility in the state to implement this, and others quickly followed. Our telephone and video visitation system is under contract, approved by the county board, and does not give me the ability to simply unilaterally waive fees. Just as we abide by judge's order in the sheriff's office, we abide by the contracts entered into by you, the county board. To complain about fees and the inability to visit inmates is offensive when we have elderly and sick in our hospitals and nursing homes who are also not able to receive visitors. Any inmate with pre-existing medical conditions and that would be considered at high risk should they contract COVID-19 are constantly checked by jail medical staff, and there is not one inmate in our custody with health issues that should be released because of the nature of their charges and the danger that they would pose to the general public. Bond reduction hearings continue to take place at the Law and Justice Center, and multiple inmates have brought their concerns to the judiciary. Multiple judges have remarked during these hearings that COVID is not a get out of jail free card. Should any judge issue an order releasing an inmate from custody, we will process that order immediately. Our staff is constantly cleaning all areas of the jail to prevent any potential contamination and have done an outstanding job under very stressful conditions. These correctional officers not only have to deal with the increased tension caused by outside influences, but also have to be concerned if they will contract the virus and in turn expose their family. In reviewing the charges of every single inmate in our custody, which includes 15 people on murder or attempted murder charges, numerous on non-probational high-level drug offenses, illegal weapons charges, or domestic violence offenses, there is not a one that myself or anyone in the CJCC would feel comfortable releasing to the general public. I am confident in the abilities of our jail medical staff in dealing with any potential cases of COVID-19 that may arise and their ability to deal with those conditions. Our jail population is the lowest that it has been in over 20 years, which allows us space to isolate inmates who may present with symptoms. Our staff is screened daily for temperature and health-related questions and are wearing masks as they conduct their daily duties. On April 2nd, I ordered the facility to be put on lockdown status for the safety and social distancing needs of staff and inmates. We will remain on lockdown status for at least 2 weeks. I have approximately 140 employees who are essential to our operation and do not have the ability to work from home. They are excelling under difficult circumstances. They deserve your thanks, appreciation, and concerns. I ask for prayers and patience as we deal with a situation that is new to all of us. McLean County should be extremely proud of how well all aspects of our criminal justice system works together for the safety and betterment of our community. We are leaders not only in the state, but in the nation for how we collaborate on issues and will continue to do so. I ask of you, the county board, to put aside political partisanship and back our most important asset, which is our employees, and not those groups who are only using this pandemic to push their political agenda. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions for Sheriff Sandage? Vice Chairman Wendt.
Sheriff, I want to commend you on your report. I agree with you 100%. Keep up the good work. And I realize that that your sheriff deputies and stuff are working under extreme conditions. And I appreciate the effort that you've done and your report. And I'm 100% behind exactly what you've done. Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Thanks, George.
Member Schaefer, please.
Thank you, Sheriff. I just want to remind people that, well, there's numerous ones on this committee. Yesterday at the Health Committee meeting, we had jail medical reporting as to what they were doing and the steps they were taking when people come into the jail. And so I think that we were pretty well educated as to the good job that they're doing to try to minimize the potential infections that may occur or, prevent them from occurring in the jail. So thank you very much. And like I said, Shelley, yesterday and Jason from JDC also talked about what procedures they have. And I think the new jail addition is also a benefit to us because we have more space and we have those negative pressure rooms. So I think that that's really good too. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Susan.
Member Solder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to chime in with the rest of them. Thanks for all the hard work you're doing. I think you're doing a great job. I just wanted to comment, I think, at least I've received a few emails from people asking to do what we could as far as releasing inmates and that. I'm not sure we have the ability or the ability to do that. I think this board is more involved in the financial part of the jail. You know, we approve the budget, we approve spending, and I'm not sure that it's up to us to do that. And it sounds to me like it's not, the judges are the ones that can do that anyhow. So anyhow, I just wanted to mention that, and I want to thank you again for your work.
Thanks, Jim.
Member Bloomfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, I just want to commend you and your team for all the work and dedication you've put forth in this effort and for really being a thought leader, not only in the state of Illinois, but across the United States. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments at this time from members of the committee? I have three notes in mind. One is that it might be four, but don't count. Sheriff, I wanted to ask first, is part of the situation that we are all facing a matter of public education with regard to different aspects of how the sheriff's office and the jail are connected? I mean, Member Solder just now, and then you earlier, I believe, referred to judicial orders that prisoners are in jail. Not because a sheriff says so or because a county board says so, but because judges issue judicial orders.
That is correct. I do not really have the ability to just open the doors and let people free. That they're in there on a confinement order from a judge.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, my understanding is that, and you referred to this, the reductions in the number of inmates, you referred to reduction of on the scale of about 1/3.
Correct.
Is that correct? Can I ask you, just as a matter of my own information, over what time period? And then
In the last 30 days.
Okay. Now that you say it again, I remember you said it before. Sorry about that. Our flexibility, therefore, is greatly increased as far as our ability, your ability in the jail to isolate any inmate who shows symptoms.
That's correct.
That is correct. Good. And finally, periodic imprisonment, I gather, has either been suspended or is tailing off.
Correct. That was done roughly about the time we limited visiting. And that's because those people are in and out of the jail constantly, and we wanted to prevent that traffic from happening.
Okay. Are there other questions from members of the committee for Sheriff Sandage at this time? I'm sure this topic will be continuing on our agenda as a county board. We have a full board meeting later this month. Questions along these lines may be raised again. Appreciate your presentation, appreciate the information, and thank you for answering my questions as well as those of other committee members.
Thanks, George.
Other questions from members of the committee regarding Sheriff Sandage's regular monthly statistical report? Hearing none, Sheriff, thank you very much. Next on the agenda, and I don't know if it's by phone or on the screen, is Coroner Kathy Yoder.
Yes, I'm here.
Good afternoon. We have items for information from you. Members have seen that these are on pages 12 through 14 in our packet. Do you have anything that you would care to add? Any particular considerations in light of the pandemic that we're all trying to work through and come out of?
No, I will say that my office takes precautions per the CDC guidelines.
Okay, are there any questions for Carla Yoder, Member Schaefer?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is your office going to be doing autopsies on the COVID-19 deaths, or are you going to not do that? I know we do many for other counties too. So are you going to be increasing your autopsy count?
So COVID-19 related deaths are considered medical. Therefore, physicians can find that out. They're not under investigation. Those deaths are reported to me per infectious disease and CDC guidelines. Of course, we don't know if someone has COVID-19, so we've taken precautions and changed the way that we do autopsies.
Thank you for that information. Other questions for Carla Yoder from members of the committee? Hearing none, thank you very much. Appreciate your being with us, even remotely. Turn now to State's Attorney Don Knapp, monthly caseload and forfeiture fund reports found on pages 15 and 16 in our packet. Mr. Knapp, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Gordon. Everybody has my statistical report. I think, as you can expect, we're starting to see some numbers dip given the shelter in place, but the numbers are so preliminary right now. It's hard to draw too many conclusions, but I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Any questions for the state's attorney? All right. And Mr. Knapp, I know that you're involved with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council that Sheriff Sandage referenced.
I am.
I would guess then that you've been busier than usual too.
Yeah.
Like too many of the rest of us.
Yeah. So, and in full disclosure, Chairman Gordon sent me a list of questions. I got him his answers. If you have any questions about those, feel free to ask me now or get a hold of me later.
Will do. Thank you. Other questions for the state's attorney? Don, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care now.
You too. Be well. Our next report is listed as coming from Mike Donovan, the Director of Court Services, and I don't see a. I've completely lost the label. I don't see a photo.
If I may, Chairman, I'm not aware that Mr. Donovan joined us. And again, I did give department heads the discretion if they did not have action items to not take up what we are affectionately calling a Brady Bunch tile, right? So
that's the phrase I couldn't remember. What's the Brady Bunch?
Exactly. Mr. Donovan has submitted his statistics to you. And so if you do have questions, I can try to answer. Ms. Taylor is also in the room, even though you cannot see her. And we will do our best to either answer your questions now or in follow-up.
Are there any questions for Mr. Donovan via Ms. Rodriguez? Any at all?
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. As usual, I think, and even more so under these circumstances, if a question occurs to any member, please get in touch with the appropriate official. Next, I'll invite Mr. Everhart.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. We have one item for action from the circuit clerk's, I'm sorry, two items for action from the circuit clerk's office. The first is in our packet on pages 24 through 34. G1A, request approval of renewal of an agreement with HOV Services for microfilming services. To begin, I'll entertain a motion moved by Member Martin. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Bloomfield. Mr. Everhart, do you want to tell us about this?
Yes, we've been working under a contract, or I should say an agreement for pricing with Source HOV. This is a company that has provided exceptional service over the years for microfilming. As I stated in my memo that we're still required by Supreme Court rules or Supreme Court order, as well as state law, to microfilm before we destroy. And this will allow pricing to remain the same through the term of that term.
Just a quick follow-up to what you just said is that I read this earlier in the day and I don't recall, is the term of this agreement also the same as the agreement just expiring?
The only thing different in this agreement are the dates. The content, the contract, the contents are identical to the previous agreement.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Everhart about item G1A, this agreement with HOV services? Hearing none, I'm going to presume we're ready to vote. All those in favor of recommending approval of the agreement and sending it forward, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Thank you. That is approved.
Thank you.
Item G1B, request approval of an extension of a leave of absence indicated in our packet to be distributed. I believe, Ms. Rodriguez, am I correct that we all have copies of that? That was made available to us.
It was my understanding that Ms. Morlock sent you the document that is in reference to this action item.
Right, okay. Everybody have it? Okay. A request for an unpaid extended leave of absence. Mr. Everhart, you have, I think, explained it quite fully. Is there anything that you would care to elaborate on so that our understanding is complete?
Being that we can't go into closed session, I wouldn't feel comfortable other than what I've explained now. It is a very serious case that they're dealing with.
Fair enough. Are there any questions for Mr. Everhart at this time? Hearing none, the chair will vote on item G1B.
A motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion before we can have a vote. Is there a motion? Moved by member Schaefer, seconded by member Bloomfield. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Thank you. That request has been approved, Mr. Everhart.
Thank you.
Your monthly statistical reports are found on pages 35 through 43 in our packet. Any questions for Mr. Everhart on that information? Hearing none. Mr. Everhart, thank you very much. Glad you were here.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
And the same to you. Be well.
I'm working on it. Bye.
That's unanimous. We all are. Our next item of business comes from the Public Defender, Carla Barnes. Is she on board here?
I don't think Ms. Barnes has joined us, Chairman Gordon.
We have a caller number 2, that otherwise unidentified. Her caseload, the Public Defender's Office caseload report is found on pages 44 through 46. Any questions from members of the committee about the information contained there? Member Schaefer, go ahead.
It's not about the report, but I just want to make a comment about the memo that we received from Ms. Barnes. And I thought that was very informative to us and explained a few things that if anybody had any questions on that was very helpful. And I think that must have tied into some of those questions. It was in relation to those questions that you must have sent. So I didn't see those questions. So that's what I'm assuming that is in relationship to.
Your assumption is correct. The information, there has been, as you well know, concern expressed by some members of the public with regard to the safety vis-a-vis COVID-19 in the jail. What I was trying to get at was basically, as I referred to earlier, I called it public education, but this is public information because I think And I thought then, and I still think, and I'll continue to think, that it's very important that the public understand all the things that go into jail management under normal circumstances, but especially now. And what I was trying to get at with questions to the sheriff and Mr. Knapp and Ms. Barnes was to get a handle on the lay of the land right now. All the things that have been done, and a lot has been done right, in my estimation. Ms. Barnes' information was part of that effort to respond to concerns. And I think I agree with you, Ms. Schaefer, that she did a fine job spelling out some things. There were a few things in there that I was not aware of at all, and I'm glad that she did what she did. Other questions from members of the committee? I'm not jumping away. I'm looking carefully at faces and, more to the point, looking for waving hands. I'm not seeing any. Okay. As I said before, if there are questions that occur to you that pertain to either Ms. Barnes' memo or simply the caseload report in our packet, obviously, I think we can feel free either to contact her or to perhaps run the question past Ms. Rodriguez. These days, perhaps it's hard to pick which one of them is not as busy as the other. But okay, if there are questions, they should be raised, and I'm sure they will be answered. Next on the agenda, Ms. Rodriguez with 2 items for action. Item I-1A, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2019 combined appropriation for departments under the Justice Committee's purview, found on pages 47 through 51 in our packet. Moved by Member Soldner. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Bloomfield. Ms. Rodriguez, would you care to elaborate as much as that needs?
Really, the elaboration is signified within the memo on page 47. These are consistent with our annual tasks of cleaning up the ledger. There was a significant amount of cleaning to do, but if you have any questions about specifics, either I or my staff would be able to answer it. Nothing was of concern to us. There were just a lot of things to do to clean up that ledger, and a lot of it had to do with the law and justice expansion. So I can take questions.
Thank you. Are there questions for Ms. Rodriguez pertaining to item I-1A? Hearing none, I'm going to presume that we're ready to vote. Chair will vote. All those in favor of recommending approval of item I-1A, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Thank you. That is approved. Item I-1B, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2019 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance general fund 0001, Department 0029, found on pages 52 and 53. I'll entertain a motion. Moved by Member Bloomfield, seconded by Member Martin. Questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, if we are ready to vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Don't count my vote. I didn't indicate that I was going to. All opposed? Thank you. That is also approved for going forward. And I miscounted. We have a third item for action. Item I-1C, the BJA CAT grant agreement with the National Center for State Courts, pages 54 through 64 in our packet, and I'll entertain a motion. Moved by Member Schaefer, seconded by member waiting for someone else. Member Bloomfield, thank you. Questions, comments, or discussion on this proposal? Anything you would care to add, Ms. Rodriguez, to what is presented to us in our packet?
Only that the National Center for State Courts has been a long trusted partner, and we're very excited to work with them. And the partnership and scope of work is very important to us, so we're excited about this.
Very good. If there are no further questions, all those in favor of recommending approval of item I1C, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Thank you. That is also approved and will be sent forward. Ms. Rodriguez, you have your report on employment activities on page 65.
Absolutely. You know, I've been saying to you in many of our meetings that McLean County Government Services are essential services, and we continue to hire and fill positions, and we're grateful for that. And so if you have any questions about the employment report, I'm ready to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Administrator Rodriguez? Hearing none, thank you very much. We are at the point of other business and communication to come to the committee. Hearing none. The last item is recommended payment of bills and transfers. I believe I am correct that we have no transfers, Ms. Rodriguez?
I am not aware of any transfers, Chairman Gordon.
I don't believe we got any. But we do have the little matter of the bills. There is no pending total, so that the prepaid and fund total amounts are identical in the amount of $349,761.90. I'll entertain a motion to recommend payment of the bills. Moved by Member Schaefer. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Solner. Questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of recommending payment of the bills, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Thank you kindly. Bills are recommended for payment. That will move forward. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.